Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Well, I've got some very shocking news to hear to you. There's a new Gallup report that comes out that recently said that guess what? The next two generations coming up out there, ladies and gentlemen, don't trust the media. Their trust in mainstream legacy media out there is at the all-time low in the history of the Gallup poll. And I'm sure this should probably come as no shock to many of you out there because we talk about the legacy media all the time. We talk about the people like the access media. We talk about the trade magazines that are always down for the spirit of the age, that are always pushing an agenda and always trying to promote all of this hot garbage out there that the fans and the audiences completely and totally disagree with. We make things billion-dollar box office hits while the mainstream media out there in Hollywood just tries to rag on things and completely and totally destroy them down. And boys and girls, this is another beautiful sign that we are winning. Ladies and gentlemen, the tide is turning. 2 + 2 still equals 4. God is still on his throne up in heaven. Up is still up and down is still down. And guess what? As always, the average common sense individual out there, hell, the average common nerd is awake to the BS that is going on in the media. It's why channels, I have 3 channels. My gaming channel, my slightly shorter Common Nerd 2 channel, and then of course the Common Nerds as well. All 3 of them are growing. My Rumble is growing, and everybody else in our corner of the fellowship out there reporting on this kind of stuff, being honest, being common sense when it comes to all of this stuff out there is all constantly growing while the legacy media, the Hollywood institutions continue to die. More and more of them go bankrupt. More and more of them get acquired by other major corporations. We see shutdowns after shutdowns. By the way, how's BuzzFeed doing? And now we know exactly why. We've got the hard data to prove what we've all been expecting forever. And boys and girls, if I can say, once we get to this number and you see how abysmally bad it actually currently is, well, I believe it can still go lower. So we're going to check out this article over here from Sherwood.news, and then we're going to give you some examples as to exactly why this is the case when it comes to Hollywood, because there is such a major discrepancy between what the audiences and the fans want and what the Hollywood elites out there think we should get and what we should love. And guess what? This gives us the evidence to show you that everyone out there is rejecting it, and it's a beautiful thing to see. So before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Does it surprise you at all? Do you get any of your news anymore from any of the legacy media institutions out there, or do you primarily get all of your stuff from your favorite online personality who you can actually trust and you believe is actually going to give you good quality and honest information? Let us know what you think about all of that in the comment section down below. Also, it helps with the algorithm. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description down as well, too, because this is my full-time job, and I could not do that without every single one of you. All right, so from Sherwood.news, trustful. That might be on the thumbnail. Americans are as skeptical of the media as they've ever been. Oh, color us shocked there. I wonder why. And one of the conclusions that this article comes to, because it's not a very long article, but one of the conclusions that this article comes to should actually show you exactly why they do not get it in any way, shape, or form. Americans are as skeptical of the media as they've ever been. None more so than the youngest generations. That's right, boys and girls. All of the folks that are going to be in charge in the next few decades don't trust the legacy media institutions. I, for one, think that is a beautiful and hopeful sign for the future. Amidst the pervasive sludge of AI-generated content, ongoing conflicts around the world, and a monumental U.S. election that's now only 3 weeks away, the share of Americans who have a great deal / fair amount of trust in the mass media to report the news fully, fairly, and accurately has never been lower. Color us shocked there. How many hoaxes have we seen? How many quote unquote conspiracy theories have come true within like 6 to 8 months? Like, I mean, why would anybody trust these legacy institutions anymore? They will lie to your face. They will tell you while it's raining down upon you, while you are drenched, they will tell you it's sunny and blue skies and everything is going to be fine, and they don't understand why you're crying about being wet. That's according to a recent installment of the Gallup survey, which dates back to 1972 and has run almost every year since 1997, with the latest update revealing that just 31% of U.S. adults reported having the top level of trust in mediums, including newspapers and TV. I mean, really? Who still reads the newspaper anymore? I mean, come on, let's be honest. But actually, there is still one. The local papers, they still give you like all the wonderful events that are going around. You know, the free ones, those ones are great. By comparison, 33% said that they had not very much trust in the mass media, while 36% reported having none at all. Remember, this is all adults in the United States. All the adults, everyone, not just the youngest two generations, all of them. No one trusts the legacy media institutions anymore. The amount of fake news, the amount of trust Americans have in the mass media took a significant hit in 2016, a year in which Oxford Dictionaries declared post-truth the international word of the year. But this has been seen faithful across every age group, not least the youngest cohorts. Across the 4 age ranges tracked by the Gallup survey, Americans 18 to 29 and those 30 to 49, which makes up the majority of us, including majority of my audience out there, as well as myself, and shout out to all of our folks that are a little bit older out there. Americans aged 18 to 29 and those aged 30 to 49 reported having the least trust in mass media to report news accurately, both hitting a record low of just 26%. Barely over a quarter of the country trusts the legacy media anymore. And why should they? Give us a million examples. We're going to go to the Rotten Tomatoes scores here in just a second. But this is the conclusion that the Sherwood author comes to. It's hard to overlook the simultaneous rise of social media alongside this fall in trust, as more and more of us each year put faith in our social media feeds to stay up to date. Now, what they're missing here is that all of these legacy institutions, the Varieties, the Hollywood Reporters, the Deadlines, the IGNs, the Kotakus, they're all on social media, right? They're all just as predominant as all of, if not more than all of you and me out there, right? And certainly way more predominant than me out there, right? But still, they're missing the elephant in the room. Social media has given us to have an ability for an alternative to the legacy media like we have never had before. That's why independent journalism and independent reporters out there are growing at an ever higher rate every single year. Because guess what? You're the journalists now. You're the reporters. You got a smartphone in your pocket? That means you got a camera and you can record things while they're happening. And that's what the legacy media absolutely hates. And we've got another article that we're going to go over later in a different video about how now the Hollywood elites are out there are pissed off because quote unquote influencer, i.e. internet personalities, are getting better deals than they are. And why shouldn't they? You want to know why, at least when it comes to Hollywood and the entertainment news, people don't trust the legacy institutions anymore? Because of examples like this. Joker 1. The first movie out there, made over $1 billion as at the box office, was the #1 R-rated movie of all time until Deadpool and Wolverine hit the scene. Look at the scores here. 68%. Top critics, 49%. All audiences, 90%. 90%. A 41% difference compared to what the paying customers thought. And all of those elites out there in the legacy media that, oh, you little poors, oh, you little serfs, we know so much better than you. 49% to 90%. Captain Marvel, right? Superhero movies. Captain Marvel. Well, it's just a bunch of fanboys out there. It's just a bunch of fanboys. 70 to 45%. A 35% difference. You go to all critics, it's a 39% difference out there. Well, it's not just superhero movies. How about we go over to fantasy? Boys and girls, The Rings of Power, based on the incredible works of the legendary Catholic professor J.R.R. Tolkien himself, the Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, and the Hobbit, and all of the unfinished tales out there. Right? What do we have here? 49% to 83%. The audience hates this. And it's worse if you go down to season 1. Because season 1 is 38% to 83%. A over 40% difference with that one. Star Wars. You want to talk about a glaring example. Mind you, these are from huge industry studios out there, right? These should be producing the best quality content for us out there. But once again, the audiences reject it. We hate it. We can see past our own noses and look past all of your DEI nonsense to go, hey, guess what? This story sucks. This story sucks. No matter how much you try to tell us that it's good. 78%. All audience, 18%. A 60% difference. I wonder why the audience doesn't trust the legacy media institutions anymore. But maybe, Jesse, maybe common nerd. Maybe it's just sci-fi. Maybe it's just the fanboys. Maybe it's just, the comic book bros and the fantasy guys. Maybe it's just those guys out there, right? That's a very passionate fan base. Very, very passionate fan base. So they're going to push back even harder. They're going to really know their lore. Well, it's not just all of our favorite nerd things. For one of the greatest glaring examples that our dear sweet friend Shadow Warden 99 brought up in the chat while we were researching this video, while recording it live, cuties. Remember the exploitive thing showing off children and very inappropriate things, and everybody was just like, oh, it's the bestest thing ever. 86% compared to a 14%. How's that for a difference between audience score and critic score? 86% of all critics loved it. This exploitation of children. Loved it. They thought it was so great. It was so progressive. It was so fabulous. Oh, it just showed, oh, you simple fools. You simple serfs. You just didn't understand the movie. No, we didn't want children, even in Hollywood, exposed to the absolute inappropriate situations and outfits that you put them in, and you pushed back. Netflix lost millions of dollars on this and lost thousands of subscribers over this nonsense. But it's not just artsy fartsy French films. No, political documentaries. Reagan, right? A lot of people love the movie. 5,000 plus verified reviewers. These are people that actually bought tickets. A 98% audience score. Whereas the critics with 67 reviews hated it at an 18%. You want to know why trust is at an all-time low for legacy media institutions? Is because they don't understand their audiences, and they never have, and they don't want to. They hate us. They think we are petty serfs that are nothing more than our only purpose in existing is to consume their slop and their garbage and whatever they feel like making because they're the artists. Well, guess what, artists? There's a reason the old phrase starving artists exists. Because for all of you out there that think you're an artist and you can do something amazing and incredible, you can't. And it flops and it fails. And that's exactly what we see right here. Across the board, The Acolyte, hated by the audience, loved by the critics because it met all of their check boxes, but it didn't give us any good quality stories. Cuties, 86%, hated by the audience because they're not making things for you and me. They never have been, at least not for a very long time, with the select exception of a few out there. They're making it for themselves, and they have been for a very long time. That's why things like The Rings of Power has lost over half its audience consistently, time and time again. That's why The Acolyte was canceled. Because these psychopaths out there don't care about you, and they never have. And they don't understand you, and they don't have any desire to. They think they're better than you, and they can tell you what to consume. Well, guess what? As I've talked about many times in the past, the culture evolves. We learn. Just like we learned from the lotto and blowing it all and becoming poor a few years later. We've learned that we can't trust the legacy media institutions. And social media has given us an alternative to find honest, common sense voices that we can actually understand, respect, and that guess what? Yeah, make a lot of sense and do agree with us. And guess what? We are the majority. Because otherwise you wouldn't see things like The Acolyte canceled. You wouldn't see things like the Marvels lose hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office. You wouldn't see things like Joker 2 flop. Because guess what? All the critics love these things. All the critics drown and rave about these things. And yet they fail time and time again. So yes, we are winning. This is a good sign because this means the next two generations coming up, the people that will be in power in the next few decades, know what time it is. They understand the elephant in the room, and they know that the legacy media is nothing more than a corrupt, corrosive, agenda-driven mouthpiece for the spirit of the age. They have decided to sacrifice their integrity, sacrifice truth, all on the altar of their cult. And guess what? Now they are losing their relevancy. They are losing billions of dollars. Their companies are closing down and consolidating, and their employees are getting fired in the droves of thousands. And after all, legacy media, we don't trust you anymore. And you did it to yourself. And now you've gotten exactly what you deserved.